All right, here we go. Lisa, so happy to have you. And again, like I said, you're always so gorgeous and beautiful. You look fantastic right now. And just want to know how things are going with you.
Well, it is lovely to see you. I very much miss getting together with you and getting together with the ladies in the power lunch. For those who don't know that are listening to this, Gracie and I met through a mutual friend, Shayna, who put together a power luncheon for ladies.
Shayna.
Yeah. So I sorely miss going out with my friends, being an extrovert and needing to be around people. One of my love languages is physical touch. So I need to be around people. It's in my blood. So it's been hard, just like it is for any other extrovert or any other normal human being, to be without that sort of interaction constantly with other people.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with Brene Brown's work, she talks a lot about this idea that we are biologically wired to be with other people. So the fact that we're separated drives everyone crazy, even if it's not conscious craziness. But luckily, with the training that I've had, I've been through, as you've heard me wax poetic about, I've been through a ton of coach training. I've been through a lot of transformative programs, and workshops. So I have a ton of tools that I use for myself, just like I provide to my clients. So I am in a very lucky situation.
I'm actually glad to hear you say that, Lisa, because this is a great opportunity. And I agree, you know, people are normally wired, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you're wired to engage. And it's not, there's a small margin of people who will live out there in the mountains by themselves and be happy and content with that. And even they're lonely. And they engage, they have their faithful dog, and they engage with the wild out there, and they're like at peace, but they're still not normal. They have to engage with some living being. And this is a great opportunity to look into yourself and invest in yourself. I'm taking a Harvard class or a course at Harvard so that I can advance myself career-wise as a businesswoman and so much more. And, you know, we have to just kind of take inventory of ourselves in so many different ways. And I'm really happy to hear you say that for yourself, because you need to refuel yourself in what you do, being a life coach. And you focus on being a life coach to particularly women entrepreneurs, correct? But
I'm an executive life coach for women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, but you do take on male clients from time to time, I believe.
I do, and it's funny, my male clients tend to be somewhat introverted and usually have both a career and relationship project. So I have this view of myself like 10, 15 years from now, actually transitioning some of my business to relationship coaching, because it's something that I really feel passionate about.
Awesome.
Even in this conversation, like, we are wired for human connection, whether we want to be or not. And there's been such an uptick in social anxiety in the last 10 years. It's insane. And I think it's because we just are not taught how to be in relationships in a forgiving, fluid manner, and in a way that gets both of our needs met. I was actually listening to a great book on this morning called Permission to Feel.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really good. It's by the head of the emotional intelligence department at Yale. And so he's done years of studies on how to build relationships from an emotionally intelligent place.
Right.
And certainly during COVID, we all need some emotional help at our wit's end. So, yeah.
You've been doing a whole lot. So I have a question for you pertaining to what you were saying earlier. But right now, I want to talk about what you've been doing during the pandemic. You have been doing a whole lot. In fact, you and I, you know, have this thing that we've agreed to where we get together once a month at least because of our busy schedules. And in spite of this virus situation, we've been doing it virtually. Unfortunately, last month, I have not been able to connect with you because we've been swamped over here with our way of giving back. And you've been extremely busy of a lot of things that you've been doing. You've been pretty much essentially doing your podcasting through Facebook. You've taken on a couple of clients, and you've been doing a lot of group gatherings too. So I want to talk about all three of those things and how it's working out for you. Oh, and yoga. You've been doing the yoga, virtual yoga program too.
Yeah. Oh, that's been so much fun. I'll speak to that first. I hooked arms with a friend of mine who got her yoga certification right before the pandemic started.
Wow.
And my friend, her name's Courtney. So Courtney and I we're talking about how necessary it is to pivot to a virtual space, because everyone needs to pivot to a virtual space now, because, you know, we in lockdown. But not only that, having a virtual presence that's authentic and fluid and uses technology appropriately, I think is going to be even more and more necessary the farther into the future we get, regardless of whether we find a vaccine tomorrow or not.
Right.
So me and her started co-hosting virtual yoga twice a week to help people mentally as well as physically move around. And I think a lot of people have been suffering from being indoors and not being motivated to work out or get outside, and for real reasons, because it's scary to go outside. You might get sick. So this seemed to have hit a lot of different needs by doing that.
Right.
And overall, that's really what I was looking at in starting my Facebook group online called Coaches Creating Community. And it's not just for coaches, it's for anyone who's interested in personal development and wants to have a highly elevated group of people who are self-aware and into the personal development sphere.
Right.
So I created that. I started doing webinars all over the place for businesses that I've partnered with in the past, for different clubs, for the Fitler Club, for the Racket Club, for a Chicago women's group. Your face is funny.
And that's my CRM system. Let me know people are opening up emails.
Yay! It's such a happy sound. But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of webinars. I've been on a couple of different podcasts, and mostly I like this sort of thing that we're doing. I like visual conversation. So for me, starting an actual podcast wasn't nearly as fulfilling as doing things like webinars and live interviews and things like that. So I've really transitioned virtually, both looking at the needs of other people, like what are people looking for, what kind of tools do they need, what type of conversations do they need, but also what really works for me. What can I do virtually that's authentic, that's real, that's something enjoyable. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that environment or that transition. They're like, well, I can do things that are useful, but I don't want to do those things, or I can do things that work for me, but nobody else is going to want to come to them.
Right.
So in my business coaching, I've been working with my female entrepreneurs on finding that sweet spot for everyone, because I really feel like everyone has a gift to give to the world. It's just a matter of getting creative and partnering to find that space.
I love that. I love that you're doing that. And I've noticed that you've done that because we're girlfriends. We stay in touch and figure out what each other are doing. But I love that you're doing that because more people like yourself that are doing that, making that effort and reaching out, the more people we have making this effort, the sooner we can get this economy back on track. You know, a lot of people are seeing this without seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I get it. people respond to stress and problematic things very differently, and they are not able to see the forest past the tree. But for those that can see that, we need to band together so that we can help show that light for those that are not able to see it right now with their third eye. And then we will be able to get this economy back on track a little bit. We can have control, is what I'm trying to say, is we can have that control of getting that economy back on track a little sooner than later. People are still talking about how things were for them with 9/11, the crisis that we had, I think it was in 2018 or 2019, where the economy was impacted there too. You know, all these things should be enough experience for people to know you can't just sit back and sit on your hands and not do anything. You got to be proactive. You got to, you should be prepared. If you're not prepared, you got to be proactive about how to keep moving forward and stuff. And I think all the things that you're doing is fabulous because it does help. It does help. And there's so many different ways to communicate how we can do that. And you have a very gentle approach about you with it rather than in your face, do it, make it happen type of thing.
Sometimes I get that way. One of my clients described me as a loving but stimulating punch to the face.
Yes, exactly. You have, for you to help people figure out how they can contribute with their special talent is a huge, huge asset and thing that we need in today's time and world of getting people to move forward and stuff like that. So it always makes me feel good when I see people like yourself trying to make things happen. You have a couple of other things going on too. Oh, wait a second. You have, I don't want to forget about this. You have had several guests on your live or recorded Facebook events. You do interviews with some pretty heavy hitters. I've seen some of your videos, recordings. If I can't physically attend or virtually physically attend, you have shared certain links to certain guest speakers that you've had. So I think I've been exposed to a handful of them. And you have some pretty powerful people. I think one of the guys that I liked a lot was Michael. And some of the stuff that he said really hit home. And what's great about your guests that you have on your little virtual shows is that whether they are hitting on things that we already know or things that are new to us, is such a great and refreshing reminder on what we should be doing and how to get on track and just giving people a chance to exhale. So let's talk a little bit about those that you've been interviewing.
Well, I am very lucky that I have a big network of people who are very generous with their time with me. And I'm a firm believer in givers gain. So I'm always looking to connect people with others. I'm looking to provide services. I'm looking to give referrals or even to provide spot coaching to people who need it. I'm very service oriented. And I think the people in my network are as well. So I'm very lucky that busy, successful entrepreneurs who are in my circle are of that same mindset and are willing to do these virtual panels and interviews with me. So that's been really, really cool and another layer of gratitude that I give to the universe. Thank you. Thank you for putting me in this position. Michael Roderick's interview was so cool because it came at the perfect time during the pandemic when everyone was freaking the F out about moving virtually. What's going to happen with their business? How are we going to keep networking? If my business is based on, and relevant, if my business is based on something that we can't do for the next 3 months or maybe even the next year, how in the world are we going to make money? Where is our livelihood going to come from? How are we going to keep busy on a daily basis? And his interview was about compassionately building your business during COVID. And what he talked about was how this is the age of relationship building and customer service. This is the golden age of it. People are now starting to realize that while technology is really useful and virtual platforms are great, people are really looking for intimate relationship building opportunities where he said something very specific. You cannot deny the significance of making someone feel significant.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful. Having conversations where you are honing in on other people, you're building out their wants, their needs, you're providing a service to them is what people need now. They don't need more products or being stuck into a box. So this is actually a great opportunity to build up a pipeline, to go virtual, to look deeper at how you can really be of service and help people during this time. Maybe how your business can pivot to fill that need even more. So I loved his interview. It's called Compassionate Business Building with Michael Roderick. It's in my Facebook group. And I have a huge network of other coaches since I've been a professional coach trainer for life and leadership coaches for 6 years. So I know a lot of coaches that are well-trained, that are successful. And so I've partnered up with them on various different topics: self-care for servant leaders, again, how coaches can build out their business during COVID, financial regulations during this time. Let's see, we did another platform, self-care, career services. We did a panel on creating your career during COVID. A lot of people are either unemployed or they're finding themselves really hating their job and not looking forward to going back to work.
It was their breakthrough. It was their pushed out the door. Now it's time to go.
Right. And now that people are talking about returning, there are certain individuals who are like, crap, I don't want to go back to that job. Like, what can I do differently?
Well, so, and it's interesting though, Lisa, because I heard of it makes me feel a certain way, but I would like to get your intake on it. I heard that a business owner that I'm familiar with decided to clean house, was the term that they used, clean house with their business, because they felt as though their employees did not reach out to them to see what they can do to help out. I personally feel as though as an employer, it's my job to take care of my staff. It's my job to look after my employees. It's my job to look out for their best interests, not the other way around. Now, for those that reach out to me and say, hey, how can I help out through this crisis? How can I be of assistance? Yeah, I appreciate that and would think highly of those individuals, but I'm not going to sort of clean house and hold on to those that did that and get rid of those that, so to speak, did not do that. What is your intake on that? I struggle with that thought. It just doesn't sit well for me.
Well, I think asking people to perform at the same level that they were performing before the pandemic hit is unrealistic.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with so many other things emotionally, mentally, physically that need an adjustment period and need a remanagement of expectations that you can't possibly set the same standards as before. You'll actually find that some productivity has increased, but other productivity has decreased.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know the particulars of that situation, but it also sounds like the leader was playing a game of testing their employees without their employees knowing. Yeah. And, while I don't agree with that situation, that's actually a lot more common than you would think, where one person has a set of standards that they're like, well, everyone should know that I'm, measuring people by this set of standards, but then everyone else has no idea that that's what they're being measured by.
And I guess some people, exactly, if I don't know that you want me to be this loyal, then tell me.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like testing for loyalty and stuff like that, because to some degree, I guess I can see it in a sense of the business owner is going through hardship because she's trying to help her business survive. So I guess she was looking at it from a selfish point and not from an obligation perspective, you know, and from her point of view, is all about the loyalty. Who decided to step up and say, forget about me putting food on the table for my family. Forget about me getting my bills paid. What can I do for you, so to speak? Where I'm losing sleep at night trying to figure out how I can make sure I pay my staff so that they can keep their lights on and their bills paid and all that kind of stuff. Me personally, I've been on both sides of the fence. You know, I've been an employee and now I am a business owner. And if my boss has to let me go, then I have to look out for my own self. And if it doesn't look like it's a chance of me going back, then what do I need to do? Look for jobs somewhere else, look for work somewhere else, or file for the unemployment, or whatever is out there right now that the government is offering, is my best way, my best approach to go, or keep checking in with my boss, of course, to see how things are going. Is it a likely chance of me coming back? I just find that interesting. What do you think about those that we just had a holiday, Memorial Day weekend, and people went butt wild crazy, you know? Party it up. No mask, no social distancing. They're like right up each on each other, in spite of all the new guidelines. And to be honest with you, I feel as though it was definitely a test of times, because the government has been talking for so long about, you know, trying to open back up. As you already know, certain states has opened up, but others are slow, and there's a small portion of them that says we're not going to open up our state until there's a cure and stuff. And there's mixed feelings about that too, but that's political. I'm not going to go that way. However, the people who are just suffering from cabin fever, and they just decided to do away with the rules, the guidelines for being out. It's the holiday. I've been cooped up for 3-4 months, you know, screw it. What do you think about that? You know, from your perspective as a life coach, what are your thoughts on that behavior?
Well, I can't say that I'm not surprised. It's like someone was on a very strict diet for 2 months, and then all of a sudden you were given a opportunity to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet for 3 days. You're gonna pig out. You're gonna go for the ribs. And
I'm gonna feast for 3 days.
I'm gonna get barbecue sauce all over my face. I'm gonna be swimming in ice cream. So of course people are going to go out and disregard the rules. I think it's a human trait to be, when we're restrictive and resentful about the restrictions, we act out. And that's what people are doing. They're acting out because of this thing they didn't choose.
And I don't think they mean any harm with it. You know, it's just that they're acting out, like you said.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, people just need to be aware of the fact that this is going to be going on for some time, that we don't need to swing to the other side of the pendulum. Like, let's actually be gradual about it. Instead of going buck wild at an all-you-can-eat buffet and getting COVID, let's take some other steps. Let's like lay the planks for ourselves. I think we live in a very binging society where we're all or nothing.
Yeah.
And so we have to learn slow immersion and gradual work, and to, you know, be patient with the process and all that stuff that we are just not good at because we're used to having everything we want right at our fingertips. So
when we want it, how we want. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I agree with you 100%, Lisa. It's a lot of adjusting that needs to be done and stuff. But if we're going to get through this coronavirus, we have to follow the guidelines. You know, we have to follow the rules, unfortunately, and just, you know, suffer through it together. So, I think I heard something about you doing some retreats that are coming up.
Yeah. So, We're putting together a virtual retreat sometime in June. I think we're going to put it together at the end of June, and it's going to be a half virtual, half in-person type of retreat.
Nice.
Yeah, some people aren't going to be comfortable doing an in-person retreat, but I'm not going to limit that to people who are uncomfortable doing that. So we're going to have it be partially virtual, and that's going to be at the end of June. But the other exciting thing that I'm up to is that I'm launching a online women's coaching community that is going to be centered around group coaching. It's going to be centered around the panels that I'm doing. And I think it's what we need. We need more honest conversations. We need more support. We need more guidance and ability to be flexible. So I'm putting that together for July, and I will let you and your viewers know when I do.
Awesome. You have been busy, very, very busy.
Yes, I have.
All right, what else is going on? Oh, I usually do some fun fact questions, and I'm going to ask you that in a few seconds, but you know what? I think I need to ask it sooner than later because I think our time is...
We are out of time.
We are almost out of time, so we got enough time to do some fun facts. So here's one personal question I have for you. What do you like to do for fun? What's your downtime or your fun thing that you enjoy the most?
I like doing creative projects with my husband, like stupid little things like paint by numbers and doing puzzles.
I love paint by numbers.
Yeah, we made our own pottery a couple weeks ago. So me and my husband have been doing a lot of that. We've also been we've been reading. We've started getting into different Netflix seasons and shows. And we also do a lot of working out together, going for long walks. We do personal development together. And so that's been a lot of fun too, reading the same books and reviewing it together.
Awesome. I love that. All right. One last question for you.
All right.
Your favorite Halloween costume and why?
Oh God, that's a bad question because I actually don't like Halloween. But my favorite costume that I ever made for myself was a washed up athlete.
Really?
Yeah, and I had so much fun with this, Gracie, because I had a complex after college that I got injured playing college soccer. And so for a long time, I was like, I felt like a washed up athlete. I'm like, oh, what's my life without sports? But what I did was I put together a costume where I borrowed someone's high school letter jacket and I painted a black eye on myself. And I bought a whole bunch of fake online medals that said 1991 Mercer County dodgeball runner-up. And I would go around talking about, in 1991 when I was the dodgeball runner-up, my county. That was so much fun.
How great you used to be, huh?
I gave myself a little pot belly too.
In fact, you have a strong background in sports, don't you?
Yes, I do. And unfortunately, I actually have to go because I got a client calling in. Yes, so my background started out in playing high-level soccer at a very young age, and I still work with a lot of athletes. I've worked with Olympic athletes, professional, semi-professional, ex-athletes. I have the mentality. I work very well with those types of females, and they work well with me. I love my little athletes.
Awesome. All right, Lisa, I know you have to go. Thanks so much for taking the time out, and talk to you soon, okay?
Talk to you soon. Thank you, Gracie.
Stay strong.
Lots of love.
Stay strong and healthy.
Thanks. You too,
Bye.
sweets. Bye.